Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If you're new, please go ahead, click the subscribe, click the bell. Don't forget to give me likes for this video. It helps the channel and it helps you too being appreciative of someone else's work. So today the video is gonna be 10 most common questions I get on my channel about Toyota transmission service related questions. Top 10. So I'm gonna read the question and give an answer. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of incorrect information out there. I want to clarify things, making sure everyone is on the same page. So this is a Toyota, and one of the common things that I get asked, first question, this is on my list, can I use infrared thermometer to read my transmission fluid versus scan gauge? Well, here is the thing. Scan gauge reads internal transmission fluid. Thermostat does not. And let me show you. Here is the thing. When you take a thermostat, or not thermostat, thermometer infrared, and you point at the pen, well, you're reading a pen temperature. You're not reading the transmission fluid. Depending on the temperature outside, humidity, elevation, you're gonna get a reading with a thermometer that it's completely different than what's the actual transmission fluid. I know there is video guys show to use thermometer, but it's not accurate. Scan gauge is investment. They're not cheap, but they're worth definitely every penny. Should you be using an infrared thermometer? It's up to you. I don't recommend. Again, that's my personal, because you're not reading the temperature of fluid, you're reading the temperature of the oil pan on the outside. How much is it different versus inside versus the outside? It depends on the outside temperature, humidity, elevation, and so on. So there is many factors. It could be a couple of degrees off, or it could be significantly 10 degrees off. Depends on all those factors. So that's the question number one and answer to the question number one. Second question, that one of the common questions that I get very often. Can I mix Amsoil transmission fluid, synthetic, with factory Toyota WS fluid? Absolutely. If you have Toyota WS, maybe older. If you have older transmission, older Toyota, well, it will not be WS. It could be Type 3 or Type 4. Then you would not be using Amsoil fuel efficient type of transmission fluid. You'll be using there's a different type. So if you're not sure, just drop me a comment, year, make, and model, and I will give you the list of what's compatible with your vehicle in terms when it comes to Amsoil. Yes, you can mix. WS is compatible with a fuel efficient, as you can see, with this synthetic, non-synthetic, synthetic fluid. So it is compatible. I have done many fluid analysis on transmission mixing together, and the results are outstanding. It does not hurt. It actually improves whatever is left in the transmission. Next question. Is it safe to replace transmission fluid at a high mileage? Well, here is the thing. Used old transmission fluid does absolutely no good to the transmission. It's like a saying, should I be replacing my used oil in the engine or keep you running it? Well, everyone knows the used oil in the engine does no good. Same thing with the transmission. Used oil does no good. It only wears out because transmission has bearings. Bearings need clean oil. Clutch packs, for them to stay at perfect, not worn out, perfect condition, they need clean fluid. So when you say high mileage, what is it high mileage? Here is the thing. I have thousands of comments from people who did transmission flush. So if you're doing transmission flush at high mileage, even lower mileage, your transmission is 99% will fail. If you're doing just a drain and fill, I have not received a single comment from anyone. Me personally never had that experience that transmission failed at a high mileage. My current truck, it's at high mileage. First transmission fluid service was done, if I'm not mistaken, between 150,000 and 170,000. I think it's like 177 or something first. Second one I did about 225 to 26K. Did my transmission fail? No, it shifts excellent. It did not fail. So when people say it's not safe to replace, well, here's the thing. If you buy in a Toyota, if you have a Toyota that hasn't been replaced for 200,000 miles, you're going to have a lot of wear on the transmission. Don't expect the transmission to last long. How much longer, how much wear, it's hard to tell. Because the clutch packs, wears out, and bearings and so on. So the next question I get very often, I bought a car and I'm trying to do a transmission fluid service, and when I remove the drain plug, well, and here is the thing, let me show you. When people remove the drain plug, here is a typical front wheel drive, sometimes an all-wheel drive, depending on which Toyota or Lexus. And actually this video applies to both Toyota or Lexus, it doesn't really matter. So if you have a transmission pan like this with only one drain hole, that means you have an overflow tube. Sometimes people buy used cars and that tube is missing. You can have a Toyota or Lexus with two drain bolts, two drain holes. Then you don't have a tube. There is no tube. And this is from actual Toyota Lexus oil pan. See, there is no overflow tube. It's not needed. It does not come with it because the way transmission is built, it's already an overflow by itself. When you have something like this, then you need to have a... So the question is, what do I do if I don't have this tube? Well, now Toyota makes those tubes. They actually sell them separately. And actually everything that I show, pretty much all the maintenance fluids and parts, you'll be able to pick them up. So when you remove this overflow with a 6 mil, yes, this is a 6 mil, you can see on the screen, tube, all the fluid will drain out. Well, most of it. Let me put it, all the fluid in a oil pan will come out. So this is the tube. And now you can buy this tube actually, because when I did my first transmission service, many people asked me, where can I buy this tube? It's not in my transmission, it's missing. I bought a used car, it's no longer there. Let me show you. You can buy now this. It's different color here. And I'll post a link where you can buy it. Actually, you cannot buy this on Amazon. You can go to the dealer, you can buy online. I'll post a few links where you can buy it online. And so now it's a different color, but it's the same shape. So let me open up and show you that it's exactly the same thing. So, interesting. It's not even the same size. Huh! What a surprise. And for some reason I thought that it's going to be the same size. Can you guys see it? So it's not even the same size. Ha! What a surprise again. But you can contact the dealer and ask them for specific. I guess this is maybe, I don't know, different Toyota model, maybe Corolla, Camry. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly. I know I bought it. I'll post a link and you can verify actually. But keep in mind, they're different in length. So that's not a good thing. So you gotta know which one to use. The next question that I get very often is when people putting this tube in, they're afraid it's gonna go through and come out on the inside. Well, it's not gonna come out. I want you guys to see. You see, there is no way it can come through. Even if you try to jam in it, let me put it back in. When you screw this in, why isn't it going? Okay, when you screw this in, it goes in sometimes easily, and then it hits this point where it feels like it's goes in super easy. It feels like it's falling through, but it's not falling through. Keep going. You're just not gonna, basically, it's not gonna go through unless you really. I doubt you're gonna be able to push it through unless you break it. You know what I mean? I'm really trying to apply a good amount of force. I just don't want to strip the threads on the plastic. But there is no way it's gonna go through unless you break it completely, and then you can go through. So keep that in mind. So don't be afraid to keep screwing it until it stops. You know what I mean? Don't use, of course, a long ratchet or anything. Use something like this. I'll post a link. It's a very useful tool for small things like that, so you can actually. By the way, it's not gonna be exactly the same thing. This is a snap-on. I got it for free. Long time ago, like 20 years ago. Been using it for quite a while. And then if you try the green tube, let me try the green tube. Same thing, same threads, but keep in mind, making sure when you bind it, you get the same exactly length. So there you go. Yep, it's not gonna go through unless you break it and then push it in. So keep that in mind. Use proper tools. Don't use the ratchet. Use something like this. This is actually decent price, not Snap-on. There will be other brands. We'll leave it at this. Next question. Can I put same exact amount of fluid that came out? So if I drained and came out only 1 quart, can I put the same 1 quart back into the transmission? Cool. The thing is, transmission fluid evaporates. When you remove that 1 quart or 2 quarts or 4 quarts from your transmission, how do you know? Can you be 100% sure that's the exact amount is in it right now? Because transmission fluid evaporates just like any other fluids. How much it evaporates, that's something that will be addressed in the future videos. Keep that in mind. That's the reason why you want to invest some money into scan gauge and use it, because it's not just for the transmission scan gauge. It's to monitor your engine health. You want to know the coolant temperature, not just a factory round gauge that shows their temperatures in the middle. That doesn't work. That's not going to do much. Unless it's overheating. So you're not going to really know how your engine behaves and how your thermostat. Same thing with the transmission. That's why it's important to do the right way instead of trying to being cheap and then paying the price later. Unless there's always exception to the things. Unless you change the fluid more often, every 20,000-30,000, then yeah, a drain and fill should be enough. But don't remember, some fluid coats your oil pan, so you gotta remember how much it takes. It can take 5-6 ounces. Make sure you put it back, and maybe an ounce for the evaporation or so. Maybe, I don't know. It's hard to tell because I never done it over a long time. And that's pretty much it. You can, if you know for sure you have correct amount to start. If not, add it more, use the scan gauge, measure the temperature, drain the extra, like I have already done it in my videos. Next question. Should I replace transmission filter? Transmission filter it's a question you can answer probably yourself. Maybe, maybe not. It depends on many factors. The age of the car, how much rust you have, because if you're going to start removing the drain, the bolts on the transmission pan, you can run into some serious issues. That's why you gotta be very careful replacing transmission filter. Sometimes it does not need it. It all depends on, there's many factors: mileage, year, how much rust you have, if any. I have a separate video. If you want it, ask me in the description, or it will be at the end of this video. Next question. I guess to add to the filter, should I be replacing transmission filter? Transmission filter does not work the same way like an engine filter. Keep that in mind. Again, I have questions on this subject, or not a question, I have a video on this subject. You can ask me and I will send you the link, or you can browse it yourself. Next question. Is it safe to buy high mileage Toyota if the transmission fluid was never replaced? Good question. It's a risky. It's a big risk. If you buy a Toyota with 200,000 miles on it, transmission fluid was never replaced, it's a big risk because you can be driving and it can fail on you way out of the dealer or private owner. I have comments from people who bought the cars, just on the way home, it failed or start acting up, start slipping. So that's something you gotta consider, you know what I mean? If you buy high mileage, make sure the price reflects if you have to replace the transmission. It's just, you know what I mean, one of those things. If it's a car, the risk is much higher. If it's a truck and it was not abused or used for any towing or hauling, just was daily driver, then you have a good chance that that transmission still has, you know, maybe 40% of life, maybe somewhere between 20 and 30, I would say. If it's a car, it's gonna be at the end of its life at 200,000. That's a big risk. Especially if it's a CVT transmission. Especially. Well, it will never make it 200,000 if the fluid was never replaced. It just does not happen. Next question. That I get like a comment, not really a question, a comment. I never changed my transmission fluid and my transmission shifts smooth. Well, here is the thing. Just because the transmission shifts, it does not mean it's not worn out. The way transmission works, keep that in mind. It's like a good example, brake pads. When you have 100% or you have a 5% left on it, does your car brake the same way? Exactly the same way. You're not gonna know until the brake pad material wears out completely to the metal, and then it's too late. Then you're like, oh, I gotta replace my brake pads. Then you can have damage to the rotors, or you can actually fall out and you can lose your brakes completely. Same thing with the transmission. They have clutch packs. The clutch packs. So here's an example of clutch pack, of clutches. See those big that I'm holding on to? These are the clutches. You see at the end of on the edges of the clutch, there is like a small, maybe 1 millimeter of material. Well, that's material that gets worn out. It's like a brake pad material, very similar. This material allows for the clutch to grab to the metal plate. See, there's a metal plate in between. When transmission is engaged in that gear, and when it's not engaged, fluid flows through and allows it to lubricate. Otherwise, the transmission will fail fast if there is no fluid flowing when transmission is not engaged. It will heat up and it's going to be a mess. This is the reason you see there's a holes between. That's for the fluid to flow, to come out, in and out, and for the clutch pack, clutches on the transmission to either engage or disengage based on that. So when people say, I never changed the fluid and my transmission shifts butter smooth like a butter, it's because newer transmissions, they're electronically controlled. And when the transmission computer senses the clutch packs, clutch material wears out, like a brake material on a pad wears out, it applies more hydraulic pressure. It squeezes the clutch pack much more harder, so you don't feel the slippage until it's too late. Until all the material is gone because of the dirty fluid. Dirty fluid is like it becomes very, it's like a sand inside there, and it just wears out everything. The clutch packs, the clutches, the material on those clutches, the bearings, and so on. And once that material on the clutches disappears, wears out, guess what? Now you have metal against the metal, and it just starts slipping. It's like having a brake pads on your car, metal against the metal. Well, it does not brake well because you have metal against the metal. There's more slippage. Same thing with the transmission. Yeah, You can be driving 150,000 maybe, but you're going to be at the end of your life. Your transmission can fail any second, any minute, because fluid was never replaced. So maintenance is the key. And something else that I want to mention that I've been following, and the people that do maintenance, even on the worst ever designed cars, but they just replace the fluids more often, use the quality fluids, they get 500,000 miles out of their transmissions and engines with no problems, because the maintenance is the key. And when people say their transmission shifts very well without changing the fluid, same people very often go and trade in and sell the cars because they're afraid it's going to fail on them. And of course, there are people who can afford to replace them very often, and there's those who can't, and they kind of run their cars to the ground and buy a new one. But that's their choice. It's just how life is. So that's pretty much 9-10 questions that I answered. Parts or the things that I showed and used in this video, there will be a link in my description, and you can make a purchase if you like. If you have some other questions, just drop me a comment and I'll be happy to answer. Usually I answer my questions within 24 hours, but if something comes up in my life, then it could be up to 48 hours. Here's the thing: if you don't hear from me after 48 hours, don't reply to the same question or the same comment. Go and type a new question, because Google does not notify sometimes me. You know what I mean? I get sometimes comments that people ask me 6 months later when someone else replied to the comment. I'm like, why I never seen the comment from that person? It's just how the YouTube works. It's their algorithm, and not because I just ignore. Sometimes I never see some of those comments. They just disappear, and you guys ask me what happened to my comment. I'm like, I don't know. Never seen it. Not sure what happened. So, I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget to share this video with others. I know it's a long video, but a lot of questions, good answers, good questions, and I want to wish you guys the best luck, and we'll see you on the next video.